Of the 7 true deserts in the world, Australia's Simpson Desert is recognised as one of the toughest. The year is 1963, and it's an era of exploration. Because of their expertise in the Sahara, Australian Prime Minister Sir Robert Menzies recommended that French petroleum, now known as Total, be involved through the French exploration company CGG, Compagnie Générale de Géophysique. And in July 1963, the CGG party, known as S6507, commenced work on Line B, which was to build a road to give access to a seismic crew to carry out a survey across the Simpson Desert. The men spent 3 months in the desert without a day off to complete the work. René Quinn was head of logistics.
On a lancé la French Line. Elle a été lancée d'abord sur une proposition sur le terrain que j'ai faite. Et cette proposition a été acceptée par ma direction et principalement par Jean Allerer, qui était à l'époque le chef géophysicien de Total en Australie.
Mon nom est Jean Allerer et j'étais donc chef géophysicien de cette compagnie française qui était venue explorer dans l'Australie après les succès qu'elle avait connus au Sahara. Donc le Simpson Desert ressemblait beaucoup au Sahara, c'était du désert en surface et en profondeur des sédiments d'origine assez ancienne, d'origine paléozoïque.
Dean Drayton was the Australian geophysicist.
The French line, as it's now called, was the line which went through the deepest area of so-called sedimentary rocks or possible petroleum-bearing rocks. And it was the simplest way to find out what was there. Now, the seismic uses explosions, and it's like having out on the surface lots of microphones, and you listen for the echoes that come back from various strata, and you can just map them. The main strata was the Great Artesian Aquifer itself, which produces all the water at Perney and Dalhousie Springs. But we were looking beneath that to see what was there.
With bulldozers, scoopmobile, technical and support vehicles, they started from Dalhousie Springs in the west and headed for Eyre Creek, the earth-moving equipment cutting an access road which ultimately crossed some 1,200 sandhills, creating a 440-kilometre track. That road became known as the French Line, and the track is still regarded as one of the most challenging four-wheel drive trips in the world. The 45-man crew was a mix of Australians and French. For some of them, this was their first experience of survey work in the desert.
I turned up in the canteen of the vehicles that we were using in the camps out in the desert. The chef said, "Who's this high school student lining up out there with all the fellas?" And somebody else said, "Quiet, he's the boss."
Pip Dunkley was part of the survey team.
It was, after all, a seismic survey. They put in a lot of what's called shot holes. These were put down to a depth of about 90 feet only.
John Thompson, who worked with the explosives, describes how the explosions were recorded.
They ran out a cable which was 600 metres one way and 600 metres one way from a truck that sat in the centre, which was called the recorder. And it was the cables were connected to that. And out from the cable, there was 36 little microphones with a spike on them that they pushed into the ground on a wire and were connected to the main cable. All the juggies had to do was run out the cable and stick the geophones, they called, little microphones with a spike, stick them in the ground and then wait till the shot went off, then collect them all up and then move on to the next shot point. And the shot points were 1.2 kilometres apart.
Tank Mueller was what was then known as a juggie, running cables to the geophones from the recording truck.
I ended up in a Land Rover reeling out cables, kilometres of it, day by day, and putting little round knobs into the ground. Pick them up, put them down, pick them up, put them down. Pretty monotonous.
In a normal shot, it goes off bang and the ground the hole's just a little bit of a pop of the sand. But this time, because it was a shallow one, it came straight out of the ground and we all dived for cover, and I dived underneath the recording truck, and someone who was back further away just happened to take a photo of it. They must have been tipped off, I think.
Eventually the survey was finished and the weary crew made it into Birdsville.
We got into Birdsville, which had, at that time, had I think a refrigeration capacity of about 3 cans of beer. The first 3 in got a coldie, but the others got hot beer or rum, and that was that. But nobody seemed to mind anyway.
It had been a hard 3 months. But what did they find under the Simpson?
The money kept on growing as not only was the French line put in, but oil wells were drilled. And we were gloriously able to tell where oil wasn't.
And 50 years on, that spirit of discovery still inspires Total to discover new sources of energy in Australia.